The perfect wife vanished. But first, I left evidence everywhere. 2 years later, he discovered my masterpiece, and it was signed with his downfall. The penthouse smelled like money-crisp linen, bergamot candles, the faintest hint of chlorine from the infinity pool nobody used. Mia Torres stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, her reflection a ghost against the Manhattan skyline. Behind her, Ethan's laughter echoed from the dining room, where he entertained investors with stories of his latest acquisition. His stories, his empire. She adjusted the emerald-cut diamond on her left hand, a prop in this performance. 6 years ago, galleries had buzzed about her Midnight Whispers series dark, liquid canvases that critics called Klimt meets Kahlo. Now, she painted nothing. Ethan's friends referred to her as the wife, if they acknowledged her at all. Mia, Ethan's voice cut through the murmur, sharp as a scalpel. The Sotheby's rep wants to see your collection. Your collection, the words were a barb. The art lining their walls a Basquiat, a Yayoi Kusama-ware trophies Ethan bought to impress guests. Her own work? Stored in a climate-controlled unit, unseen. Of course, she said, smoothing her silk dress. A perfect smile, a perfect lie. Later, in their marble bathroom, she scrubbed her face until her skin burned. The mirror showed a stranger, hollow cheeks, eyes like smudged charcoal. She traced the scar on her ribs, a golf accident, Ethan had told the ER doctor. The lie had been effortless. Her phone buzzed, a notification from Art Forum. Emerging artists to watch. She swiped it away. Ethan left for Dubai at dawn. Mia waited until his jet was airborne before stepping into his office, a sterile space of black leather and titanium. She wasn't supposed to enter. That's why she did. The safe was hidden behind a Warhol print, of course. She'd memorized the code months ago, watching Ethan's fingers dance across the keypad after too much bourbon. The lock released with a whisper. Inside, passports. 3, all in Ethan's name, each with a different nationality. A stack of photos. Ethan and Olivia Green, his razor-blade-sharp corporate lawyer, tangled in a cabana at the Bellagio, dated 2 days after their wedding. Bank statements. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, totaling $217 million. A prenup. Signed Mia Torres in looping script. She'd never seen it. Her hands shook, the numbers blurred. Clause 4.2. In the event of infidelity or abandonment, the non-breaching party, Ethan Cross, retains all marital assets. A laugh bubbled up, bitter as burnt coffee. All those years playing the dutiful wife, and he'd already rigged the game. Then she saw the last document. A life insurance policy. Beneficiary. Ethan Cross. Payout. $50 million. The air left her lungs. Mia didn't scream, didn't cry. She sat cross-legged on the cold floor, the documents fanned around her like tarot cards predicting ruin. Her fingers found her phone. A search. Undetectable poisons. Then, how to disappear completely. The balcony door creaked open. Wind whipped her hair as she stared down at the city, its lights like distant stars. A fall from here would be quick. Another tragic wife. But no, Ethan didn't deserve a tragedy. He deserved a reckoning. She returned to the safe, snapping photos of every document. Then she opened Ethan's laptop. Password. Miawan 123. The irony tasted like blood. His email was a graveyard of deleted threads, but one draft remained. Olivia finalized the Mauritius transfer before the audit, and handle the PI. Mia's getting restless. A chill skated down her spine. PI, private investigator. She was being watched. Midnight found her in her studio, shredding canvases. Not in rage and clarity, each tear was a step toward the woman she'd buried. By dawn, Mia Torres had a plan. Not to leave, to vanish. Mia worked in reverse. First, the suicide note. She typed it on Ethan's iPad, the one synced to his iCloud, the one he'd handed her with a patronizing, "For your little art blogs." Ethan, I can't pretend anymore. The affairs, The control. The way you look at me like I'm already gone. You win. M short, unfinished. The kind of raw grief that would make cops nod sagely and murmur, "No signs of foul play." She left it open on his desk, then wiped the keyboard with her sleeve. Next, the evidence trail. Hair. She plucked strands from her brush, pressed them into the passenger seat of Ethan's Aston Martin. Blood. A sterile lancet from her diabetes kit. Ethan never noticed she had one, pricked her fingertip. She smeared a rust-colored streak on the gear shift. Phone. She left it charging in the kitchen, Google Maps still open to a route to Lake George. Ethan's fishing trips with Olivia. Finally, the disappearance. She packed a single bag, cash 50,000, withdrawn in increments over months, her grandmother's pearl earrings, and a USB drive loaded with every incriminating file from Ethan's safe. The rest, clothes, makeup, her wedding ring, she left undisturbed. Let them think I vanished in a moment of despair. At 3:17 a.m., the doorman nodded as she passed. Late flight, Mrs. Cross? Just couldn't sleep. Her smile was gauzy, fragile, a woman on the edge. She stepped into a waiting Uber paid for in cash, ordered under a fake name. As Manhattan shrank in the rear view, she exhaled for the first time in years. The cabin was exactly as Ethan had described it in his drunken boasts. Cedar walls, a stone fireplace, the scent of pine and sex. Mia gloved her hands with latex, stolen from Ethan's first aid kit, and got to work. The blood. A vial of her own, drawn weeks ago under the guise of a fertility test, splashed across the bedroom sheets. The weapon. A fireplace poker, wiped clean of prints placed near the bloodstains. The final touch. A scrap of her favorite silk blouse, half burnt in the fire pit. She stepped back, critical as a curator hanging a masterpiece. Too neat. Cops liked puzzles, not pre-chewed answers. She kicked over a chair, scuffed the floor with her boot. Then, the call. A burner phone, a voice modulator app. Check Ethan Cross's lake house. His wife's there. And he isn't. She hung up before the 911 operator could respond. As dawn bled into the sky, Mia watched from the tree line. The police arrived in a flurry of radios and flashlights. She saw the exact moment they found the blood, a young officer staggering outside, gulping air like he'd been punched. Got you. The offshore transfers were laughably easy. Ethan's arrogance was his flaw. He'd bragged about his Cayman accounts after a bottle of Dom Perignon, even showed her the login. You'd never understand the math, darling. She wired $20 million in 12 transactions, routing it through shell corporations named after his mistresses, Olivia Holdings Limited, Bree Capital LLC. A petty flourish, new identity next. Rafael Santos smelled like espresso and gun oil. His Bali office was a beachfront shack, laptops stacked between coconuts. Claire Bennett, he mused, squinting at Mia's photo. Canadian, orphaned, trust fund baby. You'll need to lose the... He gestured to her posture, the straight spine of a woman who'd been taught to balance books on her head. I know. She handed him an envelope of hundreds. And I need a backstory. Art student, he decided. Rich kids love trauma. Say your parents died in a yacht fire. Her passport photo stared back, brown contacts, honey blonde hair, a smirk Ethan had never seen. Claire Bennett, born 1992, single. One more thing. She slid over another stack of cash. I need someone watched. Ethan Cross. Rafi's grin was all teeth. Now we're having fun. Day 1, the first ripple. The news broke at 6:03 a.m. on Yone, sandwiched between a transit strike update and a puppy adoption segment. Prominent tech CEO Ethan Cross questioned in connection with his wife's disappearance after police discovered what sources describe as disturbing evidence at his upstate property. The Chiron flashed, Cross disappearance, as they aired the same 3-year-old photo of Miatha, one Ethan always used for galas, where her smile didn't reach her eyes. Across town, Olivia Green spat out her green juice when her assistant forwarded the alert. The pre-up draft she'd buried in Ethan's safe glowed on her laptop screen. Day 3, The storm builds. By the third day, the story had metastasized. CNN's banner. Is this the face of a killer? Over Ethan's scowling mugshot. The one from his college assault charge, leaked by an anonymous source. TMZ's exclusive. Security footage of Ethan dragging a black duffel bag to his Tesla at 3 a.m. Mia had paid a janitor $5K to say it smelled foul. The Times op-ed. Silicon Valley's culture of misogyny claims another victim? Detective Mendoza watched the circus unfold from Mia's abandoned studio, rolling a bloody paint rag planted that morning between his fingers. Too neat, too theatrical. His phone buzzed a tip from an offshore IP. Check crosses insurance policies, wife worth more dead. Day 5. The floodgates open. The Crosstech board emergency meeting dissolved into shouting when the janitor's interview aired. I heard screaming that night, the man whispered to Fox News, eyes darting like a cornered animal. And next morning the penthouse smelled like bleach. Mia's script, verbatim. Ethan's face went slack when Bloomberg's alert hit. Crosstech stock plummets 40% as investors bail. In a Bali villa, Mia watched her $20 million wire transfer clear on Rafi's laptop. On screen, Ethan shoved reporters outside the courthouse, his Armani tie crooked. A single thought thrilled through her. You look better in handcuffs than I ever did. Mia watched the dominoes fall from a Bali villa, sipping lychee martinis. Rafi lounged beside her, tracking Ethan's bail hearing on a tablet. He's blaming the media, classic narcissist. Good. She painted idly a self-portrait in blood-red strokes. Let him talk. 2 years after her disappearance, Claire Bennett was the art world's darling. Her debut exhibition, Ghosts in Daylight, sold out in hours. Critics praised its raw, haunting energy, unaware the artist had once been a ghost herself. The centerpiece, a triptych titled The Gilded Cage, depicted a woman dissolving into gold leaf. Private collectors bid 7 figures for it. Miano, Claire now lived in a cliffside villa in Uluwatu, the Indian Ocean sprawling beneath her like liquid sapphire. She painted barefoot, her skin sun-kissed, her hair streaked with blonde from salt and sun. The only remnants of her old life were the scars, the one on her ribs, and the ones Ethan had left in places no one could see. Rafi had become her shadow. He handled her finances, her security, the occasional problem, a nosy journalist, an ex-con who recognized her from New York. That night, over grilled octopus and too much Iraq, he slid a tablet across the table. He's out. Ethan's face filled the screen, hollow-cheeked, his Armani suit hanging loose. I will prove my innocence, he rasped to reporters, and I will find who did this to me. Mia's fingers tightened around her wineglass. He knows. Maybe, Rafi shrugged. But he's broke. His lawyers took most of his cash. Even Olivia Green ditched him. She should have felt safe. She didn't. Mia hadn't planned to taunt Ethan. For months, Claire Bennett's paintings had been abstract stormy seascapes, fractured silhouettes. Safe, but as she scraped vermilion across the canvas that midnight in Bali, her hand moved without thought. The face emerged like a ghost, Ethan's smirk, hidden in the brushstrokes. What the hell is that? Rafi froze in the doorway, a mango dripping from his fingers. She hadn't realized she'd been crying. An inside joke. The lie tasted bitter. This wasn't strategy, it was a scream trapped in her throat for 2 years. That night, she dreamt of Manhattan. Ethan pressing her wrist into wet concrete at their groundbreaking ceremony, her handprint immortalized in the foundation of his empire. Now you'll always be beneath me. She woke gasping. The painting Echoes of You was still wet when she shipped it to Miami. 3 things happened in swift succession. 1. Bennett's work reveals new depths, gushed Art Forum, praising the piece's playful duality. They photographed it under angled lights, unwittingly highlighting Ethan's face. 2. Carlos Mendoza had been tracking Crosstech's offshore leaks when the gallery tagged him in their post. He tilted his phone, God. The tech guy cross he'd seen on every news channel glared back, woven into the paint. 3. Ethan, scrolling on a burner phone in his probation-mandated therapist's waiting room, dropped his coffee. There, on Artsy's homepage. Mia's signature brushwork in the crimson swirls. That particular way, she dragged the palette knife like she was skinning something alive. Mia's balcony overlooked the Bukit Peninsula cliffs when Raffi stormed in, laptop raised. "You want to explain why Ethan Cross is Googling about echoes of you?" "The sea wind died. He can't prove it's me," she said too quickly. "He doesn't need to." Raffi pulled up a security cam still. Ethan at JFK boarding a flight to Jakarta with a black duffel the size of a rifle case. Dumbass rich guys don't fly economy unless they're desperate. Her fingers found the scar on her ribs. She'd miscalculated not the how, but the why. Ethan wouldn't come for revenge. He'd come because she'd finally made him see her. "You knew this would happen," he said, voice low. "Not a question." She stared at the pixelated image of Ethan, his hollowed cheeks, the fever-bright glare. The man on screen wasn't the polished billionaire who'd buried her alive in gilded silence. This was something feral. "I didn't think he'd—" Her throat closed. "He's supposed to be broken," Raffi snorted. "Nah, princesa. Men like him? They don't break, they shatter." He tapped the screen. "And now the glass is flying." Mia paced the villa like a caged animal. "We need leverage." "We?" Raffi crossed his arms. "This is your mess." She whirled on him. "You took my money to erase me, now help me erase him." A beat. Then Raffi grinned all teeth. "Fine, but we do it my way." He pulled out a burner phone. "First, we give the wolf a trail to follow." The Bali humidity clung to Ethan like a burial shroud as he stumbled through Seminanc's labyrinthine art district. His once pristine linen shirt reeked of sweat and cheap arak, the tropical sun burning his neck raw. Every honey-blonde head in the crowd made his pulse spike. Claire Bennett. The decoy text had led him to the Ungasan resort, where a terrified woman's scream still echoed in his ears. Too easy, too wrong. She was toying with him. So he had come back to Bali. He shoved into a gallery reeking of turpentine and desperation. "Claire Bennett?" he demanded, scattering tourists. The silver-haired French owner eyed his trembling hands. "Oui, she bought supplies here. Such intense eyes." She described the woman. Cropped dark hair, a scar near her collarbone. Ethan's blood roared. Mia's scar. He flung a wad of cash. "Where?" "Uluwatu, perhaps. Artists love the cliffs." Her smile was a razor. "Merci, monsieur." Outside, Ethan never saw the woman in the cafe shadows. Black wig, oversized sunglasses, her fingers convulsing around an espresso cup as he passed. The tremor wasn't fear, it was the seismic shift before detonation. Detective Mendoza's fluorescent-lit office was a constellation of lies. Cold coffee sat forgotten as he pinned threads to a corkboard. The prenup forgery. High-resolution scans showed Mia Torres' signature, the looping M subtly distorted under duress, a tremor visible only under digital magnification. The 20 million ghost. Transaction trails snaked through Ethan's shell companies, Crosswind Holdings, Echo Investments, before vanishing into Mauritian banks. The digital fingerprint. The Bali IP address that uploaded echoes of you to the gallery site matched the login for a cloud drive containing Ethan's meticulously planned alibis. His phone shattered the silence. Cross assaulted a woman at Ungasan Resort. Indonesian police had him, but he lawyered up fast. Mendoza's knuckles whitened around Mia's missing poster. The fear in her eyes, once dismissed as bridal nerves, now screamed. "Get Interpol on standby, and pull every flight manifest to Mauritius for the past 2 years." In her Uluwatu villa, Mia peeled off the black wig. Her real hair, cropped ruthlessly short, felt like shedding a second skin. The scar above her collarbone, a pale raised E from the night he'd shoved her into a monogrammed champagne bucket, throbbed. "He took the bait," Raffi called, eyes glued to a laptop tracking Ethan's phone via the gallery's hacked Wi-Fi. Barreling toward the cliffs like a rhino in a china shop, Mia faced the canvas. It wasn't just a self-portrait, it was an autopsy. X-ray eyes revealed the ribs he'd cracked, the shadowed organs. The scar bled into the brushstrokes, morphing into his initial, hidden within abstract swirls, a tiny noose, the Ungassen Resort's infinity pool, his wedding cufflinks. "Time to send the invitation," she said, voice colder than the tile floor. Rafi sent the email from a burner account. "Claire Bennett knows what happened to Mia Torres. Midnight, Villa Angen. The bait was cast. The hook? Ethan's own arrogance. Ethan broke in at 3:17 a.m., the exact hour, down to the minute, that Mia had vanished from their lake house 2 years prior. Moonlight slashed through the studio, illuminating her at the easel. The scent of linseed oil and salt hung thick. "You stupid, thieving bitch!" Ethan's pupils were black holes, dilated with rage and stimulants. "You thought you could ruin me?" Mia didn't turn. Her brush flicked crimson onto the canvas. "The reckoning." "Funny, I was about to say the same." He lunged. She sidestepped, not toward escape, but toward the painting, smearing her palm across the wet, blood-red pigment. "Look closely. Recognize your handiwork?" The chaotic swirls resolved under the moonlight. 9, L, 22, R, 15. L, the exact combination to his hidden Manhattan safe, the one holding forged documents, the pre-up, insurance policy, and offshore account bank statements. "Impossible!" His breath hitched, the first fissure in his fury. He'd never written it down, never spoken it. "You counted it aloud," Mia whispered. "The night you locked away my grandmother's pearls." Blinding floodlights erupted, shattering glass. Interpol agents poured through windows and doors, guns trained. As agents pinned Ethan, Detective Mendoza knelt. With gloved hands, he retrieved items Mia had slipped into Ethan's pocket during the struggle. The shred. A charred fragment of her suicide note, its jagged edge matching the remnants found in the lake house fireplace. The ticket, a first-class Mauritius Airlines boarding pass. Ethan Cross, departure, 24 hours after Mia's disappearance. The pearl, iridescent, plucked from her grandmother's earrings. Mendoza nodded, holding up the pearl, the final piece. Mia stepped into the glare of body cams, her voice ringing clear. "You didn't kill me, Ethan, but I just buried you." 1 year later, Sotheby's trembled with the weight of history. Redemption dominated the auction floor. Ethan's prison-issue orange jumpsuit stretched taut over a frame. Upon it, meticulously decoupaged, were 365 handwritten apologies from his cell, each plea twisting into a hangman's noose. The placard. Materials: inherited trauma, 24-karat hypocrisy, karma, unrefined, and the tears of a guilty man. Mia Torres' cameras flashed like 1,000 stars. Rafi pressed something cold into Mia's palm, a pearl-studded cufflink, the twin to her grandmother's recovered earring. "Welcome back," he murmured. She kissed him, not as Claire Bennett, not as a ghost, but as Mia Torres, sculptor of her own survival. Turning to the guest book, she inscribed her name with a flourish that sliced through the past. Mia Torres. Alive. First exhibition of many. The roar of the crowd faded. She touched the scar at her collarbone, not a brand anymore, but a testament. Freedom wasn't the absence of fear. It was the canvas waiting for her next stroke. Enjoyed the story? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next one.